Hello friends, let us now talk about a very important feature which is backtesting. And for that, let us click on the backtesting guide first. Alright, so I have created a separate tutorial only for backtesting because as you understand, backtesting has a number of nuances. There are a number of assumptions that if you do not explicitly mention, the code will make those assumptions itself. So I just wanted to make sure that you understand what is all that is going into this backtesting and what are the things that you can tweak to make your backtesting more deterministic. All right, so before we come into all the defaults and configurable variables, let me take you to the basic tutorial where I've just given a small snippet about backtesting. So again, as you know, backtesting is going back in time, extracting historical data from point A to point B, and you can decide what is the range of candles or what is the range of historical data that you're interested in. And then you try to see whether the strategy that you want to work with, how that strategy would have performed on that historical horizon. All right, so that's essentially what backtesting is doing. But once again, there are a lot of assumptions, for example, the cost, the slippage, etc. No backtesting is perfect, but what I've tried to do here is that I've tried to be as conservative as possible, which means that I have a default value of cost, I have a default value of slippage, I have a default value for unfinished candles, etc. So I've tried to make this as real as possible, but once again, there is no guarantee that your performance in backtesting would be replicated in real market. So do backtesting with this caution and take things in the right perspective. All right. So these are some of the very basic prompts that you can give to backtest. But again, I'll take you back to the expansive dedicated backtesting tutorial and see what all you can give. So obviously the first thing that you'll have to give is the ticker. So as of now, my backtester only supports backtesting on one ticker. So for example, you will say that perform this backtesting on Apple for the past 1 year for 1 hour candles, or perform the backtesting for ticker Tesla for this time horizon for this candle. All right. So as of now, I do not support performing backtesting on a basket of tickers. It has to be for one ticker only, right? So that's very important. For historical data, you'll have to give the time frame. What is the candles that you want? 15 minute, 5 minute, 1 minute, 1 hour, whatever your strategy is going to be. Make sure you get the same duration of candles for your backtesting. Then the test period, past 1 year, past 6 months, whatever you want to give. All right. Initial capital by default is taken as 100,000. I don't think you need to change this. All you need to see is whether your strategy has a high win rate or not. It doesn't really matter what capital you go for. Even if it's 10,000 or 100,000, it really shouldn't matter that much. All right. Risk per trade. This is a very important criteria. As a trader, you need to know how much risk you're going to take per trade. So for example, if your total portfolio is 100,000 and you got a signal, that doesn't mean you put the entire 100,000 on that one signal, right? So in this case, I will just do 1% of 100,000, which is $1,000 on one trade. So this risk per trade also helps me get the position size, how big your position is going to be based on the trade that you put. So this is a very important factor. If you do not provide this risk per trade variable in your prompt, I'm going to take it as 1%. Likewise, slippage, 5 basis points. Again, this is on the more conservative side. Some people go with 1 basis point, 2 basis point. I leave that on you. All right. But by default, the slippage is 5 basis point. Slippage, if you don't understand, means that, for example, if you place a trade on Apple stock and Apple stock is presently doing $295.34. All right. When you place the order, it shows 295.34, but when you get the fill, it will almost certainly will not be 295.34. It will be different, right? So that is called slippage, and that is what I have modeled in my backtesting. So by default, it is 5 basis points. Commission $1 per order. Again, commission is very important, especially if your strategy has a lot of trades, because commission is typically charged per trade. So if your strategy has hundreds of trades per day, this commission really adds up, all right? So I have gone with $1 per order, which is very similar to how much interactive broker charges if you take their various pricing plans, etc. The average comes at around $1 per order. So that's what I have gone with. Then stop loss and take profit. Once you have entered a trade, it's very important to define when are you going to exit. Are you going to exit when you meet your profit expectation, or you're going to exit when you stop loss out of that trade? All right. So if you do not provide the stop loss and take profit, which means the exit criteria, I'm going to take either 2% or 2 ATR, meaning average true range, which is the measure of the volatility of that particular stock. If you have a specific stop loss in mind, mention it. So stop loss 10%, take profit 30%. You can change that in your script. If you don't change that, this is going to be the default stop loss and take profit. Again, maximum exposure is I am assuming no leverage. So whatever is your equity, 100,000, if you exhaust it, I assume that you're not going to get any leverage because that complicates calculations. So I would not place any trade if there is no capital left. All right, so that's the assumption that I'm going with. Again, that's a reasonable assumption. Some people do have leverage, but in this case, I have not taken into account the leverage or margin. All right, and then end of test, I'm assuming that at the end of your backtesting period, we would close out all the positions. Nothing would remain open, which I think is a reasonable assumption. All right, so again, these are the various parameters that go into the backtesting machine. If you give a very simple prompt like this, backtest a MACD crossover strategy on Apple, all these assumptions would be triggered, because in this case, apart from ticker, I don't think we have provided any other variable. So let's actually see backtest MACD crossover strategy on Apple. Let me copy this and let me paste it in the terminal and execute. Let's see what happens. All right, so we have got the result, parse strategy configuration. So this is very important. So once you get your backtesting result, always ensure that the parser understood your strategy correctly. So if you click to expand or collapse, you will see what is the value that has been assigned to all those critical variables that go into the backtester. All right, and as you can see, in this case, only Apple was the variable that we provided. So everything else is the default. Okay, so you can just double check it. If you provide a more wordy or a more specific prompt for the backtesting, just make sure that the values that go into all these variables are in accordance with your prompt. If something is amiss, do let me know. Drop me a mail on contact@rasukon.com, and I would definitely look into it and ensure that the backtesting is behaving normally. All right, so let me now close this and let's look at how this strategy performed. So initial capital was 100,000 and this strategy blew around $2,500. So total return is around minus 2.48%, Sharpe of minus 0.25. Max drawdown is 10.73%. That means this is the max that it went down. If you look at the equity curve, I think this is the drawdown that it's talking about. It's 10%, which is not very good. And the total trades that happened over 1 year was 45, which is pretty decent. Win rate of 40%. You want this win rate to be above 60% typically. So in this case, it fails woefully. And then total commission, average per trade PNL, etc. You have all the basic statistics that is required for evaluating a backtesting result. All right, and then if you scroll down, these are every single trades that was taken. Okay, so long, short. We made money on the first two trades, long and short. Then we lost money on the next long and short, right? So you can figure out when was this trade taken, what was the entry price, what was the exit price. So I think I provide enough information for you to kind of perform your analytics and see how your strategy performed, but just wanted to caution you that it's very important that you double check this part strategy configuration to see what values have been assigned to these important variables, all right? So now let us look at a more expansive template of how good backtesting template would look. But before that, yeah, so as of now, I'm only supporting technical indicator based strategies. And these are all the technical indicators that I currently support. So if you have any other technical indicator that you think is missing here, do let me know and I'll try to incorporate that in. But as of now, these are the only supported technical indicators. Okay, and these are the prompts. So the prompt should ideally look like this. Backtest a long only strategy on a given ticker using 5 minute or 10 minute or 1 hour candle for 1 year, 6 months or whatever. Okay. These are the indicators that I want to use. These are the entry conditions. If your super trend does this, or if your MACD does that, right? This is your entry criteria, this is your exit criteria, and then other critical variables. All right, so this is how a general template should look. Let me get you a prompt that you can use. So this has everything, but in this case, there is only one technical indicator. There is one that I provided that has multiple technical indicators as the entry criteria. Yeah, this one. So let me copy this and show you how this works. So let me paste it in the trading terminal and let's click on execute. And as you can see, we have got the results. This is over a 2 year horizon. And in this case, we didn't get a lot of trades. We only got 6 trades over a 2 year horizon. And that makes sense because our entry criteria was quite strict. It was a combination of 3 technical indicators. So probability of that is definitely much lower than just having one technical indicator as a signal. All right. So in this case, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trades, and we had a slight profit, which is 1.31%. Win rate is 50. Again, ideally this should be above 60. So yeah, this is your strategy. In this case, you are able to make a bit of money. We didn't lose money, so that was a good thing. But once again, this is backtesting. So take the results of backtesting with more than a pinch of salt. You should always be skeptical with backtesting results because this is something that happened in the past. There's no guarantee that the same thing will be replicated in the future. The idea is that we just want to get an idea of what is the overall merit or demerit of this particular strategy, and that's what we use the backtesting for. All right, so this was all about my backtesting workflow. Very excited to have you test it and let me know if there is any features that you want to be incorporated, or if you find any bugs or any deficiencies with this backtester. I am committed to improve it and incorporate your suggestions.